I'm Greg, and you're listening to Totally Preventable.
Totally preventable.
Totally preventable.
Totally preventable. Totally preventable.
Totally preventable. Totally preventable.
preventable.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, Polly.
Who we got for a guest today?
So today we have Special Assistant Attorney General Alyse Antone Smyth coming in to talk to us about the Attorney General's office and all the great work that's getting done over there.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it was a mouthful even saying.
Yes.
You can imagine all the information. Yeah, this is going to be cool. I really want to see, what is a Special Assistant Attorney General? That's what I really want to know and what goes on that day to day.
Right. I kind of want special in my title now.
I'm kind of jealous of the title myself.
That's pretty awesome.
Maybe she can make us deputies or something like
Excellent.
that.
I can't wait to hear what happens at the Attorney General's office.
It's going to be good to see.
Yeah.
So without further ado, today joining us on our Totally Preventable podcast, we have Special Assistant Attorney General Alyse Antone Smyth with us. Thank you so much for joining the Totally Preventable podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is. I'm super excited about this.
Me too.
Wow. So to tell us a little bit of, to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am born and raised Newporter, so still live there to this day. Grew up there, went to all the public schools there, graduated from Rogers High School. From there, I took a little break from school. I had my son, and when he was a little bit older, I attended CCRI for paralegal studies. And from there on, I decided to branch out more into the legal field. I went to Roger Williams undergrad for political science and legal studies. And then from there, moved on to Roger Williams School of Law and graduated there in 2018. And so now I work at the Attorney General's office, and I'm assigned to the narcotics and violent crime unit. Before I was in this unit, I was assigned to the family and district court unit, where I worked mostly with juvenile prosecution.
Oh. Now, I think it's important to know I met Special Assistant Attorney Smyth at our Newport Dreamland fair. It was a festival type.
Yeah, it was a festival. Yep.
We were. It was in Newport, and it was over the summer. And it was
Is it like a career
exactly
thing?
It was a little better than a regular career fair. It was letting the community know about possibilities. When I saw, I was like, wow, I didn't even know, those possibilities, but it was great to meet.
So
right.
Could you tell us what a day in your job looks like?
Absolutely. I am a litigator, so I'm in court most of my day. You can either choose to be a transactional attorney. Those are mainly attorneys that work in contracts. They're sitting at the desk. But me, I'm a litigator. So for me, we have specific gun courts is what they call them in Rhode Island. So for the most part, I'm in court either pre-trying gun cases or if I have to be there for a hearing or a motion or just a simple conference with the judge. That's pretty much what I'm doing. So there's probably about 1, 2, 3, 4 courtrooms that I have to be in and out of per day in Providence Superior Court.
Wow.
And all your cases are around guns, violent crimes, and narcotics?
Yes. So, yep, exactly. My unit deals with felonies that involve guns and or narcotics. And most of the time, sadly, those cases involve, violent crimes, robberies, murders, overdoses. But I also do have some lighter cases, if you will, simple possession cases, felony assaults or assault cases. I have some of those too, but the majority of my cases focus on guns and a lot of drugs.
That is scary
Mhm.
or say what her lighter cases are. And I think
Yeah,
the lighter,
I know. The
wow,
lighter cases, right?
that is something. Are you seeing, because we're in prevention and we're seeing it in our line of work, are you seeing a lot of fentanyl in the cases that you're prosecuting?
A lot would be an understatement. That's primarily the majority of the cases that we have deal with fentanyl and or its counterparts, which would be parafluorofentanyl. You see tramadol, xylazine. All of these things are major components to what's contributing to overdoses, um, and or all of these people getting hooked on drugs. But fentanyl primarily is we see that in probably 95% of the drug cases.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
we just did an interview with some prevention people from Philadelphia, and it was a lot about xylazine and sort of a heads up that the trend kind of moves, towards the east, but it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
So kind of scary that xylazine is here, and we always hear reports of the percentage of fentanyl out there, but I think people think not here, not Rhode Island. So
yeah, no, that's totally not
yeah.
true. That's what we're seeing. It's really scary, and a lot of times it's being masked, so people will think that they're receiving something else, but really it's laced with fentanyl. A lot of the pills that are being distributed nowadays, if you hear about like fentanyl presses or pill mills, what
Mhm.
people are doing is they're using these presses, and they're not chemists, they're
Mm.
not specialized in any of that stuff, so they're taking all of the stuff, pressing it into these pills, and out they come one by one. But what people don't understand is that one pill could be 100% fentanyl, the next pill could be 1%, the next pill, so on and so forth. So one pill could be deadly, another may not be. It's just the luck of the draw. So it's really scary. And I think it's sad, but that's the trend nowadays is fentanyl. When we can sit here and discuss, not particularly you and I, but attorneys in the field, we can say, oh, it's just cocaine, now we have a problem.
Right.
And that's what's happening now. So
I had someone explain the presses to me and how it's not consistent as chocolate chip theory. How you can't guarantee how many chocolate chips are in your chocolate chip cookies. Sometimes you might get a whole bunch, and sometimes you might just get one or two. So I like to use that example that
absolutely, so true. It's so very true. It's and it's scary, and that's why we got to keep it off the streets. So yeah.
I'm hearing, I don't know if you're seeing any cases of fentanyl showing up in Adderall and Xanax. So some young people, probably even old people too, aren't even looking for opioids. They think they're getting
Right.
a study drug illegally, but that's not even in their mind that they might overdose from this.
Yep. And that's happened. I haven't had a specific case with it, but I know somebody in my unit has. And again, it's, these dealers will do anything they can to, find the next person that they want to get hooked. And if that makes its way all the way to teenagers or whomever, they don't care. And that's the big issue. We do have a law in Rhode Island. It's called the Kristen's Law, and that's what I had mentioned with overdoses, where we primarily would be responsible for prosecuting somebody that may or may not have delivered a drug that killed somebody, and and that's another thing too.
Right.
They might not be dealing these drugs to specifically kill people, but it's definitely a possibility.
Right.
So
Wow. I was not familiar with the Kristen's Law, but thank you for informing me on that one. I know I've always wondered about that, in the transaction, is that that person that are they somewhat responsible? I've heard cases like on TV, but I've never really knew for sure if that was it. That is
Yeah. Rhode Island does have now, and it now does have a law that addresses that issue.
That is great. Now, like I mentioned, we met at a festival. What type of community outreach does the AG's office do, especially with informing not only of job opportunities, but of the problems that we're facing in our community, such as fentanyl and overdose.
Fentanyl and overdose. I know that I can't speak specifically to everything because there are things that happen behind the scenes that I'm in. I know that we do or have offered in the past expungement clinics. So that's a little bit off from what we're talking about, but we've had expungement clinics for people from the community who either don't have the means to, or don't know how to, or just never knew how to maybe get something expunged off of their record. We've offered those in the past. And then, I know COVID hit and that kind of put a little bit of a halt to it. But we do have, our civil division does have divisions that handles, that's specifically like for consumers.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that they probably have, outreach and other avenues that within our office that, are community outreach based. But I can't speak to anything specific right now. So I apologize.
That's all right. This is the awesome part about having a special assistant attorney general office. I feel like I need a badge and clearance. But...
Yeah.
Too. No. I know your job is probably to just get the bad guys off the street, but how often do you see any kind of rehabilitation discussions or possibilities for rehab and that kind of thing?
That is a great question because we do offer, we have a diversion program, which for people that are charged with felonies in Superior Court, if they've never been in trouble before, they're a good candidate for it. They can go through a diversion program, which basically is what it means, right? It's trying to divert them from having a criminal conviction on their record. So they may have to complete something. It may be community service. It may be some type of treatment, something of that nature. And once they're done and they fulfill those requirements, then their case is expunged as if it never happened. Mm. We also have drug court, which is that's basically it's more intense. That's for people that are, really heavily addicted to drugs. And the process is more intense. They may have to go through screens or counseling or, family counseling. They keep a really tight leash on them. They have to go for periodic reviews. And again, if they graduate, which drug court, they can graduate and get a certificate from. They graduate from that program, same thing, their case would be expunged. We also have what we call deferred sentences. So the person basically pleads to the facts of whatever they're being alleged to, but then while they're on this deferred sentence, they either have to complete some kind of requirement, or they just have to come back for periodic reviews where the judge can check in on them, make sure they're not, staying out of trouble and all of that. And at the end of that deferred sentence period, again, their case would be expunged as if it never happened. Then you also do have people that plead out to cases where they may have a conviction, but then as a condition of their sentence, they may have to do some type of treatment or a program. So a lot of times we do see that. We do see sometimes people being released without even pleading to a treatment program. And then we monitor them and see how well they're doing. And at the end, their sentence may be lightened or just depends on how they do. But we do promote that. We do encourage it. For me, specifically, how I prosecute, the punishment has to fit the crime. So a lot of times if I do see people that if that's their their problem, it's substance abuse. Do we really want to put them in jail, or do we, want them to get the help that they need so that they can go rehabilitate themselves and not recommit crimes? So that is within our office. I mean, there's definitely a stigma attached to prosecutors. It's never going to go anywhere, but it does exist in our office where, we do encourage that.
Do you see it working out, that a lot of people take learn from the experience and get help and rehabilitate themselves?
So that's kind of that's kind of where the lines blur. You do see a lot of people that make the effort, that really want to change, and they do, and it's great to see that. But then you also, on the flip side, you have people that you give them chance after chance after chance, and it becomes more or less of a ploy or a tactic or a game that they want to use because they know it's something that they can just say. So I've had plenty of times where I've let people out and they bust out of the program right when they get out, and it's just like, and then they come back to see the judge, and the judge isn't happy because they gave them the chance. But you do see a lot of people that they need that type of help. They shouldn't be in jail, and they take advantage of it. So there is hope for that type of resolution.
Now, I know that your office and your division is going to be, I don't want to say slammed, but I can imagine that it is slammed with case after case. Now, is there the possibility of having some of these programs like replicated into high schools for like student, I can't even think, school resource.
School resources.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it something that organizations can work with the Attorney General's office to try and adapt something or to create so that student doesn't get to you?
Right. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, kind of like the preventing or trying to prevent the pipeline to prison thing.
Right. Well, a little better than a scared straight.
Yeah, a little better than that. I don't know. I know that when I was in juvenile prosecution family court, that court is specifically implemented, so it's supposed to be a rehabilitative court, right? So it's like you're not there to put kids in jail or training school, if you will. So for the most part, when you're in that courtroom, there's a lot of moving parts. There's there may be a counselor there. They do have people from the schools that actually come in to help represent that juvenile. So I don't know if there's any specific, there's a lot of programs that the kids get sent to that, when they get into trouble, they, for the most part, aren't going to the training school. You have to do something egregious to really be sent to the training school. And the judges that are in the family court are pretty, reasonable. They don't want to see these kids, have this conviction or whatever follow them for the rest of their lives. So they do the best that they can to try to, rehabilitate, get these kids the help that they can get, and hope that they don't see them again. If that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Maybe there's a chance for a partnership here in a program.
Exactly. Exclusive. Now my next question is going to probably have you wear both hats, juvenile and special assistant. But I deal with a lot of grand families, and those are families where grandparents or kinship where kin is raising a child. A lot of times it's due to incarceration. A lot of times it's due to overdose. Are there ways to get attorneys or the AG's office to meet with these communities to talk about the next steps? A lot of times they're trauma filled and they see what's going on and they have that stigma that it was, he was railroaded or whatever the case may be. But it's just,
Mhm.
I think what I'm trying to ask is there a way for community involvement with the AG's office and these different communities, such as grand families and kinship, to work together?
Sure. I wouldn't see that we would object to that, or, I think if somebody put the idea out there for any of us to come and speak to communities, I think we'd be more than willing to do so. And I think the Attorney General himself would be open to the idea of that. So I don't think it's something that's off the table. It's just something that if one of us as prosecutors were to do that in, a representative capacity of this office, it would have to be something that that everybody agrees to, as opposed to, oh, can you come and speak over here, or, but if it was something that, okay, we want the AG's office specifically to come and speak to communities and talk about what we're doing within our office, it would have to be something approved by, the higher ups from me.
All right.
It's not all
Yeah.
around here, Greg.
I mean, every office doesn't run like this.
That's why we're just podcasters.
Exactly. What other services go on at what other services does this Attorney General's office provide?
Yeah, so we have a special victims unit. We have and then our family and district court unit. So those are basically, the AG's office handles every felony in the state, but we also handle some misdemeanors and some DUI cases from the state police. Well, all of the state police DUI cases. So we have that unit. We also have our public integrity unit, which is white collar crimes, maybe unemployment fraud, those kind of things. And again, on the civil side, they have a whole other spew of units that deal with consumer litigation. So, and again, they're in a different building than us. We kind of interact with them, but we don't. But our website basically outlines everything that our office provides. But within the criminal unit, that's what we have: SVU, which is special victims, narcotics, public integrity, and our family district court unit.
I did not know that you handled all DUIs in
State police. For the state police.
Yep, state police DUIs. Yep, we handle those.
Yeah, I guess I'm thankful I didn't know that you did all those things.
Exactly.
I know, right?
I thought you guys just went around doing opioid prevention. No, I didn't, but this has been kind of eye-opening to me. And
Yes.
I'm
Good.
very grateful that you've spoken about fentanyl and xylazine, because I don't think that we can get the word out strong enough and loud enough to our residents, our parents, our young people, about how serious it is and how prevalent it is right now. I think everyone thinks, oh, those are big cities and I think we need to be screaming it from everywhere to try to keep everyone safe. So thank you.
Absolutely.
For reporting.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. If there's any way that we can, make drugs totally preventable, we've got to do it. You know what I mean? And it's really affecting our youth. You do see a lot of kids that are overdosing, and call it what you want to, but experimentation used to be a thing, right? You
Right.
think, oh, here's this new trendy thing. And oops, did I cut off from you guys? No, okay. There's this new trendy thing, and all the kids are doing it, let me try it. Or, hey, I ran out of my Adderall. Do you know anybody that has some? And they're picking up these things and boom, dying right on the spot. So it's just, yeah, I have a strong rhetoric about these drugs, and I see people dying, and I see the families that are left behind, and it's just, we have to get it all off the streets.
I hear you. I am so thankful for our connection. I'm so thankful that you joined us on the podcast. And now that you said that we could just contact the Attorney General's office, I'm going to request that we have you as our speaker for everything.
Thank you. That's great. I'd love to. You guys are
Like
great.
another email from Greg. Gee.
No, this was great, and I hope that somebody that may not have known about this learned something, at least one person, hopefully, and brings it back to the next person, and yeah, that's how change happens. So
Before we go, I would be remiss if I didn't ask, can you please give us the Attorney General website?
Sure. So it is www.riag.ri.gov.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you guys for having me. This was great.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Have a good day.
I'm Holly, and you've just listened to Totally Preventable.
Totally preventable.
Totally preventable. Totally preventable.
Totally preventable.